I've read a post by Stefan Georgi. Stefan says, I had an outstanding balance of 271,000 owed to the IRS from the previous tax year. I paid it at the start of December. This is December 2025. A few weeks later, we got an IRS letter via certified mail addressed to my wife with a notice of intent to seize property because I guess there was some interest between when it was due and when it was paid. So, of course, upon getting this letter, I paid the outstanding interest immediately. So they're going to seize it because there is outstanding interest. And hopefully that the issue is closed, but the payment is still pending on the website. But I'm not going to lie, getting crap like this from the IRS while simultaneously seeing rampant levels of fraud in Minnesota and probably everywhere else does leave a really bad taste in the mouth. The IRS quickly threatens to seize my property and bank accounts over less than $3,000 in interest that they didn't even make clear to me that I owed after paying $271,000 to them. But meanwhile, states like Minnesota, you've got literally billions of dollars of taxpayer funded money, and all the elected leaders there are bringing this up as white supremacy. I get it. There's a difference between the federal taxes and the state taxes, but right now the whole system seems deeply broken. He has a picture of his invoice. And you can see in this picture, right at the fold, final balance due, notice of intent to seize, levy property, rights to property, amount due 28. Now, this was mailed via certified mail. That's as serious as it gets. He is expressing the outrage. Talks about how after he'd paid $250,000 to the IRS for back taxes, that just a couple weeks later, he received a letter demanding the payment of additional amount, $3,000, which was interest. And accompanying that was a notice of intent to seize his property, his house, his bank accounts, if he didn't pay properly. And he expressed a real outrage that they would threaten him. He got this letter 3 days before Christmas, and they threatened to seize his house over a small amount, $3,000, when at the same time, billions are being gleefully stolen through fraud and negligence in Minnesota, as well as many other states. And he's expressing a lot of outrage. And I'm seeing a lot of people on the web expressing the same sort of outrage. And so there's a lot of big people, and they're calling it tax strike, hashtag tax strike. And they're threatening to withhold their money to the IRS, refusing to pay their taxes to the IRS. And that somehow this is going to hurt the government. And I understand that emotion, I understand that feeling, but let's talk about different ways to express that. The first one is to actually have a tax strike, to actually refuse to pay your taxes. People are out there saying if everybody refused to pay their taxes, it would shut the government down. Well, that's false. I mean, because they're making money lots of other ways, and the government can print their own money, so that's not going to happen. So the only person that is hurt by a tax strike is you, the taxpayer, because once you fail to file your tax return within 5 months, you will owe an additional 25% penalty. And that money goes right to the government. So if a tax strike, if you really withhold filing your returns and your taxes, is only giving more money to the government. That's the wrong thing to do. And you're the only one that pays. The second thing people have done is say, well, I'm going to vote these bad guys out. But people are frustrated with voter fraud, and they feel the politicians will say what they want to get elected and ignore what they say afterwards, that our votes don't count. So a lot of people are frustrated with voting. I'll give you a solution that really does work, and that is to take that money that you would otherwise pay as the 25% penalty on the tax strike, take that money and give it to voter registration groups and conservative groups that are going to get the bad politicians out and get new politicians in. When you mobilize voters, then you actually start to get the attention of politicians. And if you kick out some politicians because of their attitudes towards abuse and waste, then that's really going to change the mind of all the politicians. It gets the governments moving the right way. Researchers have said that really, if you could affect a 3.5% shift in how people vote, that you can pretty much win elections significantly. So the most powerful way for you to express your discontent is to fund voter enrollment groups that are promoting candidates that support your opinion about this waste, fraud, and abuse. So don't do a tax strike. Rather, spend your money on voter registration. Get the right politicians in. Money speaks in the political world. But what this guy here, Stefan, is expressing is something that most people are expressing, is the indignation and outrage that the government is stealing from the taxpayer and menacing a taxpayer here with a threat to seize the house, while at the same time squandering the money that they've taken, not just to millions, to billions, possibly trillions when it all is added up. Some suggest that this is a $2 trillion fraud scheme altogether, all the different vehicles and ways it's happening. The government depends on its legitimacy. And here, the US government is acting in an illegitimate manner with so much fraud, and dismantling it is difficult, while at the same time, the government is being harassed by people through court cases, threatening them on every step and movement they are making to reduce these amounts. And they're accusing all sorts of things to divert from the overt illegitimacy and corruption that's here. And it's a real outrage. What do you think? What is the best way we have to respond? But I think this is a major issue. And as more fraud comes out, it's going to become a massive political issue at a grand scale like we've never seen in a long time since Watergate.